Hey, Jared, we just talked to Mario and Tehran about this, but just want to get your thoughts on the social justice campaign on Say Her Name and just how important that is for this team and why it's important.
Um, I think it's important for the world to recognize that equality is a big issue and not everybody having that equality. So I think it's important to raise awareness just so you can get out and encourage change, encourage people to vote, encourage change in laws and in legislation that's going to affect all men and all people and all creeds that live in this country.
Rod, you want to go again? I guess so. Jared, how excited are you just about getting a chance to play a football game again on Sunday, and also did you watch the game last night, and what kind of emotions did you get just watching it, considering where we were 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the season, especially just a few months ago we didn't even know if we were going to have one or not, and just a lot of guys making that decision on whether they're going to participate or not. But for the guys in this building and for me, I know I'm excited. I think it's been a long off season just getting to the point to where it is now. Did I watch the game last night? I watched a little bit of it, and it's exciting to see football back. And I feel like football, among other sports, is a game that brings people together, and that's the importance of it all, right? Is to come together for a common goal, no matter what's happening in the world outside of all this, just to show that people can still come together and enjoy something and actually root for a common goal. It shows that we have more in common than not.
Hey, Jared, when you watch a game like the one last night, the little bit that you did see, can you, and they had fans there, but can you tell that there aren't really fans there, like just watching on TV as a player?
Um, a little bit, just because I've been in the sport, but apparently there was no problem for the players because I think it was a few false snaps or the center forgot to snap the ball one time last night. So I still think it had an effect to the game. I think it's going to be a little different for us on Sunday.
Amos, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, obviously the team for the most part is intact from last year, but there's a couple new faces on offense. And with those new faces, obviously going to be some new wrinkles. And I guess, are you excited to kind of get out there and see how all those new parts and new plays and new everything kind of fits together?
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool going against our defense, but that gets old real quick just because our defense knows us and we get used to them and vice versa. But actually seeing our talent go against another team, I think that's where the excitement comes in. And just seeing guys like Emmanuel Sanders join us and Troutman just get involved on Sunday and see how they interact, especially Troutman, seeing a young guy interact in his first game and just see how it goes for him, I think is going to be exciting. And just, we bring in guys to make our offense better and to make this team better. So, that's what we're looking for, is to pick up where we left off last season and just go in stride and keep getting better as a team.
Caroline, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Jared, life is different for all of us, but especially us who are, working from home and things. As far as you guys going to practice every day, being at the facility, in the locker room, do things seem as close to normal as you would hope for a global pandemic?
For the most part, it's still some oddball things like the COVID testing every morning and just seeing some staff members walk around with masks constantly. But inside the building, things are as normal as possible. Now, there are some aspects of it that are completely different, and just in terms of protocol of outside sources, like if you have a massage person, if you have a stretch person, or if you have a third party that you deal with outside of the building that you get work or body work done, you have to be cautious in every step that you do, because you don't want to be one of those guys that bring something back into the building that's not supposed to be here. Now, I also think that things will get a lot different once we start traveling, and we'll see that with our first away game next week. But I think that's going to be a true challenge in the traveling schedule to see how things go.
Is there any protocol that you guys have your stretch people or masseuses go through in order to make sure that they're not, seeing other clients and then bringing it back to you guys, things like that? Is there any sort of protocol?
They have the Saints are allowing them an opportunity to go and get tested outside of the building. I believe at maybe at a hospital they're setting it up for them, but they just kind of touched on it to just be extra careful, and then they would provide them with the access of getting tested if need be.
Edward?
You talked before, I think, about how at the end of last year you and Drew were really clicking and the chemistry was there. Did you have any feelings at the beginning of last season about that, or is that a hindsight thing? Like, did you go into the season thinking, hey, I wish Drew and I had more time together, I wish we'd worked on this? Kind of seems like something you don't really know at the time, and then you look back on and you think, oh, if we had more time on the field together or whatever, maybe the chemistry would have been there from the start, if that makes sense.
Going into a season, I don't think it's kind of difficult always to gauge that, right? Until you get out there when the live bullets are flying and there's true competition going on and there's a team that's really trying to knock your head off. So going into the season is kind of difficult to tell. Now looking back at it, I think we ended up in a good position and actually had a good rapport towards the end of the season. Now, you always wish that you could have those moments where you can get extra work going back and looking at it. But you just try to do the best you can and prepare for the weeks coming up and get your time in those weeks. But going into it, I feel like we did a pretty good job of maximizing our time together and building a rapport last year.
My follow-up question was going to be, so how do you feel now, 1 year into the system, going into week one, and knock on wood, as weird as this training camp has been, everything seems to have gone really smoothly with injuries and time on the field and all of that so far?
I feel good. As said before, things were a little different this year, especially without us not having OTAs. And I think OTAs is a big opportunity for you to kind of slow down the game and just, learn your new targets as a quarterback and as a target, learning your new quarterback and learning timing. And once you roll into camp, things kind of click all cylinders. This year we had to maximize and squeeze all of that into one. So, I think we're as prepared as we're going to be going into this game, and I'm still confident that we're going to be able to get the job done.
Nope, you want to go ahead?
Hey, Jared, I know a lot has been made about, at least for right now, for most of these stadiums, not to have fans. But I wonder, going into week one, I assume pretty much everybody's jacked up to play their first game. And I wonder if maybe not having fans won't impact the game as much as some of those that could be like down the line throughout the monotony of a season, like once you get to like week 10 or whatever. But do you think that not having fans will be a huge impact? Do you think week one, or do you think everybody's going to be having so much adrenaline because they're ready to play a new team this week?
I think it'll definitely have an impact. Fans motivate you, and fans also help, especially in a place like this when the dome is just roaring and it's a very loud place. It's hard to hear when somebody's right next to you. So I think it's going to be it's definitely going to be different. But as far as their offense coming in here, I think we're going to miss the fans quite a bit. I think you're going to be able to hear everything. They say you're going to be able to play crowd noise at 70 decibels, but if you look at 70 decibels, what is that really in comparison to 120 or whatever our stadium gets up to? So I think I think we're definitely taking a hit in that department, but I think it's definitely going to be something to get used to at the same time. I feel like it's going to be quiet. Um, I feel like it's going to be like a practice, but you know, we get to play ball again, and it's definitely going to be different for the defense. But you know, we're out here playing ball, and I think that's the best thing about it is we get to suit up and go out on Sundays and make this thing feel as normal as possible as a real game.
Nick, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, just as somebody who's played with a few different quarterbacks, I'm curious what that chemistry building process with Drew Brees is like, and if there's anything unique about it. Is he more patient than some guys? Is he more tolerant during mistakes? Like, just what's that like when things go wrong during the season and that?
Drew is patient. You know, Drew is probably as patient as any quarterback that I've ever played with in terms of, you know, just the preparation and talking things out. He explains things well. You know, he really doesn't get up in arms if you mess it up. Now, on Sundays, it's different, right? I think it's a little bit more intense. You see a little bit more intense, Drew, just because on Sundays we're all expected to be as perfect as we can be, and we're held to a higher standard on Sundays. So, you know, I feel like Drew makes your job as easy as possible, and that's what makes him one of the best quarterbacks in this league. He makes your job easy. He goes out and he handles the checks. He communicates with you, and he actually talks it out on how things are supposed to be. And you know, a lot of times when he gets mad, it's at himself. You know, he's not really getting mad at you too much. So his communication style is probably superb and A1 in comparison to most quarterbacks.
Are there some quarterbacks that can make you feel tense, like through some of that process, just because of the way they approach that perfectionism?
Yeah, absolutely. Not everybody knows how to talk and communicate, right? So a lot of people, their feelings overtake and their emotions overtake them in a negative way. But you know, Drew does a great job of staying level-headed and just if there's a mistake, he's always like on to the next play. Even in practice, he's always like on to the next play, on to the next play. And I think that's important, especially in this league, because it's so difficult for us as players to do that. That's the hardest thing, is to forget about the last play and go on to the next. And I think Drew does a good job of just pushing that in people's brains is, hey, we still got a game to play. We still got more plays ahead of us. Let's just go make a play now.